Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Admiral, the hurricanes last year caused significant damage to NOAA facilities and equipment in the south and southeastern United States, as well as Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. The recently enacted bill provides funding for repairs or replacement of those facilities and equipment. Can you give us an update as to how that's going?
Sure, and I want to thank you very much, Congressman Serrano, and this entire subcommittee for appropriating that disaster supplemental funding. We will put that to very good use. Currently, we have a spend plan for the $200 million allocated for the weather damage and weather research that we'll use those funds for, and it's currently at the Office of Management and Budget under review. We intend of that $200 million, that $100 million will be dedicated to weather research and improved weather forecasting and warning. And then we'll have another about the other $100 million will be used for a number of different things like marine debris removal in Puerto Rico and in the southeast caused by the hurricanes. And then there's also another $200 million that will be applied to fisheries disasters along the Gulf Coast in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, and even some West Coast fisheries where disasters were declared last year.
Now, is that money flowing already, or will be flowing?
Not yet. The OMB has to approve it, our spend plan, and as soon as they do, we will start. And we're lining up, our contracts and all the work to be done, so we can execute as soon as those funds are available. Regarding Puerto Rico, we have much underway already in terms of removing marine debris, performing post-storm assessments. We worked with the Department of Defense to get a weather radar to replace the damaged one that we operated there. And I'll tell you personally, I have great sympathy and appreciation for all the people of Puerto Rico. During Hurricane Katrina, my house on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi was entirely washed away in 28 feet of storm surge. And so I have personal knowledge of the sacrifices and loss they have experienced. And so you can be assured personally I'll be providing as much support and personal involvement that I can to ensure we can recover quickly.
Thank you. The budget as presented by the administration cuts 248 funded positions from field offices of the National Weather Service. And we know how important the National Weather Service is, especially these days. So, Admiral, won't these further cuts in Weather Service personnel, as proposed by the President, create a very real risk of reduced timelines and accuracy in weather forecasting?
Congressman, thank you for your interest in the Weather Service and support. They are all heroes, in my opinion. I visited a number of the weather forecast offices, and they've made great sacrifices during the storm season. I've seen in Houston, for example, the forecasters were there in the office 5 days straight, sleeping in the office, providing warnings to emergency managers, and that's just one of many examples. To answer your question, we don't believe that reduction in number of positions will introduce significant risk. In fact, there's been 3 studies on the workforce at the Weather Service, and all have concluded that the Weather Service can operate more efficiently. There are just a number of either operating practices like reducing the number of forecasters on watch, or even the hours any given weather forecast office operates, as well as using automation and improved processing technologies like the one I mentioned in my opening statement, the AWIPS. So technology and better business practices at the Weather Service, I think, will allow for us to absorb the reductions in people in this budget.
Admiral, my last question for this round, the silliest question you'll get all day today, but it's just something I came up with last night. So whenever I turn on the TV or the radio, whatever, I hear the weather forecast. They get that from you guys, right? They don't do their own weather forecasting.
Actually, TV meteorologists sometimes often do their own forecast, but they get the baseline data and warning information from us. Yes, sir.
I was wondering if they pay you for that.
Our taxpayer dollars pay for us.
That has become, you know.
The American taxpayers pay for our service, sir.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Palazzo.
Maybe this is not a question for you, but for other people, but I'd like to get an answer for as many people as I can. Right after Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico, and the devastation that we saw, that many people claim is the worst ever under the American flag, it took such a long time for things to get going. And some of the excuses they were giving was that Puerto Rico was an island, you know, and I sarcastically or profoundly sarcastically said it was easy to invade it in 1898, so it was probably not difficult to reach it now. What was the problem? Was it administrative delays? Was it indifference, if you're free to say that? Is it the fact that it's a territory and they don't play in the same ball field as states? I mean, something went wrong. Here goes that phrase again. Something went wrong, and even people who are keeping quiet about it because they don't want to attack the administration or the agencies know that something went wrong.
Oh, Congressman, again, as I mentioned earlier, based on personal experience, the people of Puerto Rico have my deepest sympathy. I'm in my position at NOAA. I really, it's not mine to comment on the overall response of first responders and of FEMA. I've met with Brock Long, and we have a great partnership. I think I can tell you that NOAA's response, as I mentioned with the ship Thomas Jefferson, and much of the work we're doing now to remove derelict vessels and areas where hazardous material and oil has been spilled, restore habitat in many areas, and thank you again for the supplemental appropriations, which we will apply to very good effect in Puerto Rico and other areas that were affected. So I can tell you that NOAA's response has been terrific, and I'm very proud of the people of my organization.
Thank you. Well, you know, I just wanted to throw more information into the pot, if you will, because I have no qualms with NOAA. NOAA and NASA are two of our favorite agencies here, you know, except you're not sending anybody out into space anytime soon, right?
No, sir. No, and we're not funded to do it either. But I'll tell you that we have
Some staff members only. Right?
Oh, well, the former administrator had some experience there, you know. But we have a very active ocean exploration program with our ship Okeanos Explorer, which is discovering new things every year, new species, new phenomena, and I think it's a program we're really proud of.
That's great. That's great. Among the many NOAA programs the administration wants to eliminate are the National Sea Grants Program and the Educational Partnership Program with minority serving institutions. Among the many benefits these programs have provided is that they've encouraged a pipeline of talented young scientists to choose careers at NOAA. Admiral, won't the elimination of these programs harm NOAA's ability to maintain a high-quality workforce in many critical areas? I mean, you've been getting a lot of talent from those programs. How difficult is it going to be now?
Well, I'll acknowledge and thank you for your support of both those programs, and I'll say that the Sea Grant program is a great one. It's been very we've recruited out of Sea Grants and the Educational Partnership Program great talent. I've met many of scientists in NOAA now who are veterans of those two programs. And in fact, last month I spoke at the Educational Partnership Program event at Howard University, and I was able to see some new young students who are all doing great research in partnership with NOAA. NOAA mentors these students. Our scientists enjoy that, and we gain because of it. So I'll tell you, yes, we've benefited from, and we've been able to build a more diverse workforce based on those support from those two programs. So they're important. I can only explain to you how I have previously that we had to make some tough calls, and when given the cuts we were required to execute, and so some of the core services like weather forecasting and the oceanographic and hydrographic surveys are what we preserved.
Thank you. Oh, one last question here, Admiral. Could you please talk about the backlog of maintenance and repair needs at weather forecast offices? How bad is the problem, and to what extent is the backlog further harming the ability of the National Weather Service to make timely and accurate weather forecasts?
Thank you, Congressman, and again, I really appreciate your support to the Weather Service. It's just a really terrific organization affecting Americans for the better every day. Yes, we have identified facilities across all of the Weather Service that are in need of repair, and I don't believe they are posing significant risk to the mission today. We are still saving lives, protecting property all across the country, and we proved it during this hurricane season. But you're correct in acknowledging that I'm concerned about a number of our facilities, and not only at the Weather Service, but across all of NOAA. And so we are looking closely at what we need to recapitalize at fisheries too, and other locations to ensure our workforce has the best place to do the best job.
Thank you. Just one last comment, a selfish comment, but important to our districts. Some years ago, you set up a weather station at a community center populated by a lot of young people in my community. And in all honesty, you know, the years go by, and I don't know in what condition that weather station is. If you guys could just check on it to see if it's where it should be, and because at one point, we were having the local cable TV channels pick up the weather forecast from the weather station at the community center, which was really a great thrill for the kids and a lot of learning, a great learning experience. So if you could just check on that, we would appreciate it.
We sure will, Congressman. Thank you.
Thank you.